Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers. Carter Wilcoxon here, coming to you along with my fantastic co-host that, I just want to say something, Tim James. I was thinking about this over the weekend, and I've been hearing a lot of this from advisors that are coming on to be guests or anybody's coming on as a guest. They're just so thankful and they love the idea of what we are doing, right? Combining health and wealth and understanding that they're interconnected. So with all that being said, how are you doing today, my man?
Well, that's good. I'm doing awesome, man. It's good to hear. It's sunny out today. I'm excited. There's a new gravel driveway being put down at my parents' farm. So when I go back next time, I won't be driving on a muddy dirt road in the spring anymore.
Okay.
Very exciting. So I actually liked growing up on a dirt road, though.
Well, now, when you say you liked it, what did you like about it? Was it because no one else came down it, or? Well,
it's just it's closer to nature, man.
Yeah.
It's like the black top is like, they call it black gold because it's like you can make a lot of money putting it down and everything. But one thing that you don't think about is like asphalt. What's it made from? What is asphalt made of?
Yeah.
Well, it's made out of crude oil. Right, and it's which is converted into a tar-like substance, and they grind up small gravel, and it's mixed, and it becomes asphalt. Right, so it's from crude oil. And you ever see it like on a hot day? If it gets hot, and then it gets softer, kind of, and then it's kind of oils. And if there's a little water on there, you can see that if there's water on the pavement, you see that like that colored oil on top of the water on the pavement. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's always leaking. Where is that stuff going? It always goes into the ecosystem, right? So think about all the asphalt roads all over the place that are leaking it's toxins and chemicals, but nobody thinks about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I think about it all the time.
Well, I mean, you're 11, 12 years down this path now and everything. So of course you do. And it's interesting because ever since we started doing this podcast, which by the time this episode comes out, which I'm really, really excited about our guest today. And we're getting ready to bring her on.
Yeah, me too.
I know, totally. By the time it launches, it's going to be like episode 55, 56, 57, something like that. I mean, so the point being, I have learned so much myself. I mean, I've been the biggest benefactor of these things. But when I'm in my kitchen, when I'm like opening up the refrigerator, when I'm thinking about what I'm eating, when I think about what I'm breathing, of course, we're going to talk about my sauna because I'm 10 days into that. That thing is amazing. But anyway, yeah, it's just been the things that are so top of mind that you start thinking about once you really go down that path of understanding the ecosystem in which you're living in.
Well, it's good you brought that up because I talked to my bookkeeper this morning. We're sending you an invoice for all my lecturing. Just kidding.
That's awesome.
Send you in, Bill. $25,000.
That is awesome. Well,
actually,
hey,
what would that be? What is it worth? What is your health worth? That's a good question to ask.
Ooh.
What is your health worth? You got a net worth, right? What's your health worth? You have a health worth. How come there isn't a column that says health worth?
Ooh.
What's your net worth on your health? How you doing on that column? How's your assets and your liabilities in the health column?
I like that. That should be on a new risk tolerance.
Profit and loss statement. It'd be like abundance and lack statement, or energy and deficiency statement.
Yeah.
Right. Think about that stuff. So what? I'll just drop this, and then we got to bring Silvia on because she's the bubbliest person we've ever seen. Like, she's awesome. She's just been smiling and giggling the whole time. So she's really good for my ego, even though I'm trying to get rid of that in my spiritual practice, because she's just happy and smiling, and I say something stupid and she laughs, and it makes me feel like I should be like Robin Williams or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
But anyway, so I was talking about something and I got distracted. We were talking about sending Carter a bill. I'll do that later. Check.
Yep.
And then we were talking about asphalt leaching.
What's your health worth?
Health worth. Yeah, we're talking about health worth. Oh, so a good statement is, and I do this all the time with my coaching clients. If you don't have, there's no mystery to why you don't have good health. It's this is the question. Okay, get a piece. If you're driving, pull over, write this down. You have not made your health a priority yet. Your health is not a priority. As soon as you write down, my health is a priority, and you make it a priority, everything will fall into place. Now, it might not fall into place perfectly, because you're going to be coming along and getting in some there's a lot of wrong information out there, and you might have to try it and get first person experience and find out it doesn't work for you. And even some of the stuff that I share doesn't work for everybody. You know, I've promoted flaxseed water to thousands and thousands of people because it's so good for the gastrointestinal tract and so good for the cells and all these things, right? It's a good omega oils and all this. But guess what? One of our private coaching students, Ellen, it dropped her blood pressure. A small amount of people, they can't take flax water because it lowers their blood pressure. So for her, it didn't work, and that's okay. She just doesn't do that deal right now. Maybe later down the road, when she gets her immune system built up, she'll be able to add flax water back in, or maybe not. It doesn't matter. But you have to make your health a priority. You basically have to make you a priority. Really make yourself a priority and really love yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Oh, hey, that's good. And you know what? You're going to get a chance to talk lots more about that. But in Richards, here's the deal. We know you're here to meet our new guest. And I want to go ahead and introduce Silvia Manent, CFA and CFP of Manent Capital. Silvia, you are in Boston. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am in snowy Boston, Massachusetts, or Taxachusetts, like someone told me. I don't know if it was you, Carter, when I first met you, if you had said Massachusetts, it's Taxachusetts, but I don't think it's as bad as California, so I'm okay.
Yeah, it's it's definitely up there. There's no doubt about it, right? So, and you don't have to go far, right? New York's not much better, but so Silvia, it's snowing in Boston right now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, not right now, but a couple of days ago, we did get a few inches of snow, and we went up to New Hampshire and skied. Obviously, it's not Utah or Colorado, where some of our viewers might be tuning in from, but it's enough to have like a fun weekend. Being from Spain and like living and having worked in Switzerland, I'm so spoiled with the Swiss Alps and the pricing. And I always thought Switzerland was so overpriced until I came to Boston, and I realized that no way, it's so much cheaper to ski in Switzerland than to ski in Utah or New Hampshire. So it might be a good, hopefully after this war, maybe we can all go.
Yeah, hopefully so, right? Exactly. So, well, hey, Silvia, the enrichers really like to be able to hear your backstory, and you just kind of sort of touch on a little bit. You know, you're from Spain, and a really cool bit of information about you I always just find intriguing and amazing. You speak like 4 languages, so I know we're going to talk a little bit about that on here. But I want to go ahead and have you share with us and our listeners, the enrichers, on your backstory. You're young, you're millennial, Gen Z, somewhere right in there, right? We're curious, and we want to hear, what was it, some of your influencers early on that brought you into having a heart for helping people in the financial services business. So go ahead and share with us some backstory on that.
I love that. So I've always known that I wanted to have my own business. I think growing up, I moved to the United States when I was 9 from Spain because my father was in the life science business. So we all moved to Boston. And he had been an entrepreneur and he was managing a company. But I found out early on in my career that I had to start a business. That was pretty much the only way to truly build a really huge amount of wealth. And so I remember being my father's boss. He was like one of the top billionaires in Spain. And I always really looked up to him from a wealth perspective. And I kind of wanted to be like him. And so I actually, at the age of 9, I knew I wanted to make money. I knew I wanted to have my own business. I knew I wanted to help people. But I actually thought I was going to do it differently. So originally, I remember reading the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So as soon as I moved to the US, I was 9. As soon as I learned English, it was about 6 months until I finally was able to read and understand English. So I remember reading that book because I didn't really have any friends. And I was just like, I would go to Barnes and Nobles with my parents and just like read books and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I learned all about having a business and how rich people have assets and no liabilities and they invest in things. So right off the bat, I knew I wanted to have my own business because of all these things. But I thought I was going to be in artificial intelligence. So I was really into the artificial intelligence space. I don't know why. I just loved robots and I loved AI. And I thought that was like the easiest way to really help a large amount of people. But fast forward 10 years later, my dad retired and he needed to find a financial advisor after selling his business to manage his money. And I got exposed to the financial advisory firm. Like I could never read a balance sheet. I couldn't read an income statement. I was like, what is this? What is like unrealized? What is this depreciation thing? Like I was useless. So I never thought I would go into finance. But I would see my parents' financial advisors like roll up in their Porsches and like all that stuff. And it just seemed so glamorous that I did an internship at JP Morgan when I was 22 and ended up absolutely loving it so much to the point that I decided to completely change my major and go into finance. So that's a little bit of why I started my business and also why I went into finance. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you grew up in Spain then. Is that what you're saying? So you moved here when you were 9, didn't speak a lick of English.
No. So imagine this, right? I'm from Spain and all of a sudden my parents put me in an all-girls school right outside of Boston in a very like snobbish town with very snobbish people. And I had like no friends at all. So all I did was just like read and try to learn as much as I could. So that was a little bit of, and like what happened, right? Like you go into a school where you don't speak the language, you don't speak anything, and you're trying to navigate, being surrounded by super smart women, extremely smart. I mean, they all ended up going to Harvard and Yale and Phillips Exeter and like just the top schools. So I was surrounded by really amazing women. And it just like fired me up even more, I would say.
Nice. So what is that like? I mean, obviously me and my co-host Tim James, we're born and raised here. I mean, I only speak English. I speak a little bit of Spanglish from time to time because I am in Phoenix, obviously, right? But
¿Por qué?
Yeah, right. Why? What? But I'm just wondering how difficult is it to learn English? Because we have such a unique, I don't know. I mean, you've got the sarcasm thing you got to take into consideration. You've got, what I'm saying? There's just like so many different things that just don't, unless you like know English, you're like good and food. Like, wait a second. It's FOODGOOD. Why is it pronounced completely different, right? Yeah. So what was it like for you?
It was hard. I still remember. So as soon as I moved to the US, a couple months later, I was taking the school bus. And I remember they asked me, they're like, Silvia, like, what's your stop? And I didn't understand like what they were asking me. And all I knew was like the name of my street. But obviously I didn't speak English, so I didn't do a very good job pronunciating. And then the bus driver just like left my stop. And I was like, I think you missed my stop. But honestly, I remember the first 4 months, literally I was 9. And I still remember it was September of 1999. I didn't know anything. All they did was just like immerse me in this. Things were going on around me that I did not understand. The school was really good about providing like extra supports because they're like, we really want to make sure that we can support Silvia, blah, blah, blah. So the school was really good in terms of supporting me. But I just remember like you're in a classroom and you're not understanding what anyone else is saying. Like you're literally just like, you're just like pretty much just watching things. And then soon, literally, I still do remember that it was December, or not December, but probably February of 2000, when I finally was able to like write and talk to people and understand. And I think by the end of that year, I was able to speak it fluently. So I think when you're young, they say that if you're under the age of 12, all you have to do is just put a kid in the classroom and then they'll pick it. They're like a sponge. But I do know, like, my older sister was 15 when she moved, and she did have like a higher, she still has an accent. I still have an accent, but she has it like stronger. And I think for her, it was a little bit more difficult, but she had already learned it. Whereas my little sister, who's 6, she has like no accent at all. She looks like a true American, like one of those sorority girls. I think, yeah, if you're under the age of 12, literally just whoever's listening here, if they have kids, just put them into like places where they just like, it's swim or die basically. And that's kind of how it was for me. There was like no way out. I had to just be successful. Like, I didn't want to be like the 9-year-old who failed in a classroom with all these girls that ended up going to Harvard Business School and Yale. So my ego killed me, you know?
Right. Well, it's funny. We were just talking about ego just a little bit ago, right? But so you move out here, you move here. Now, I'm assuming your parents moved here and that's why you moved here. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So my whole family, when we were 9, my whole family just moved to the US, and we were all, I have 2 sisters, so we're 3 girls. We were all right outside of Boston and literally going to schools, trying to like survive. Well, it wasn't that bad, but you know what I mean? It was pretty much that. So.
Now, what was the reason why your parents moved you from where you're at? Because you've got an older sister and a younger sister, it sounds like.
Yes.
Which makes you the middle child.
The cream of the Oreo. That's the best part.
That's what I'm talking about. That's this guy right here.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny. I got to do some more research on this and talk a little bit more about it. But I've you know, the psychology and the type of individual that make up, you know, those siblings, like the older sibling, the younger sibling, the middle child. The middle child is like the quintessential black sheep almost, right? You could end up being anything as the middle child from everything that I've read.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So, but you've got only sisters, is that right?
We're only women. I have 2 sisters. We have a dog. My father is surrounded by women. So he needs a man in his life.
So anyway, so they moved you out here. Did you feel, I mean, were you excited about the move to America, or were you, I mean, obviously you had to be a little bit nervous because you're like, I don't speak English. I know it's what they speak there. So what was that like as a 9-year-old, like coming across the ocean and this brand new experience and journey?
Yeah. So I was a little bit excited. I remember, so before we moved to the US, we were all like, we basically moved and we started looking at schools, and I was, you know, looking at, you know, the types of schooling, where we wanted to live. My parents were looking at homes to move into. And I just remember it, like, it was just so blurry. It was kind of like, hey, we're moving to America. It was, for me, it was exciting. I was definitely scared, but I just love new experiences. I love making myself uncomfortable. And it's just my whole life, I've always been moving around. But for me, I saw it, I think, more as just like a new fun experience. And it was also like, I didn't really have a choice. It was like, hey, we're moving to America. Your father has a new job. This is like, they're like, you can't really argue with us. My sister had a harder time because, you know, she left all her friends. But I was excited. Once I got there, I was just like, oh my God, people would tell me these words. Like, they would say, hey, this is super cool. And I would go to my mom and I'm like, they're saying this word cool. What does that mean? And she's like, it means like people are cold. And it took me like 4 months to understand it was not what she meant. But at the beginning, I think it was kind of like, this is the life. Like, this is what you're going to do. And honestly, I went to a French school. When I was in Spain, it was the French Lycée. And let me tell you something, the French school system is the hardest school system in the world. I mean, they are so tough to you. Like, they're so, like, if it's not like, I feel like in the United States, if you're having a hard time, people get together, like your teachers will get together and they'll say, how can we make sure that this student succeeds? Whereas in France, like, usually the French school system is very, like, you live, like, you swim or die. And so it's very good for people that are like, if you have like a learning disability, like kind of like I did, it was pretty tough. I mean, I was like a middle child, like normal. But it wasn't a place for me to thrive, just because I would go to school, people, they will yell at you, like, what are you doing? You got a bad grade. So I was just excited to get out of that situation. That's kind of what it meant. It was an amazing school, and I would still send my kids there, by the way, the French Lycée. It was just really tough. So
I want to hear a little bit more, and I know we're coming up on a break here in just a little bit, but I want to get one more thing in as far as your credentials. So you're a CFA, and it doesn't take, someone with a learning disability of any stretch, I find it hard to believe that anybody's a CFA with a learning disability. So with that being said, you decided to get your CFA. Give me a little bit of an idea of what that was like for you.
Well, hold on, Carter. We might have a couple people hanging on here that don't even know what that is. What is a CFA?
Oh, let's start there.
Ooh, so the CFA it stands for Chartered Financial Analyst, and it's known as like the gold standard for investment management. And basically what I knew that if I wanted to start my own firm after having worked at Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, I'm like, if I'm going to go on my own as a 29-year-old with pretty much not a huge lot of work experience, I'm competing against people, the 6'4" gray-haired men, like I have to have something going for me. And so I think what I have going for me is that I'm a woman, and a lot of women are looking for women, but at the same time, people they're not just going to give you their money. People are not going to give you their money just because, I'm a woman. And so I knew that I had to get it from number one, my confidence. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing, because of just getting clients. I'm like, if I'm going to start my business. And so I've actually gotten many clients because of the CFA, because they've actually been told, or like they've been referred. They're like, hey, so like just one client just came to me and she was like, yeah, I don't know what the CFA is, but my sister's boyfriend, girlfriend, blah, 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 told me to come to you because you're a CFA. And so you should know what you're doing. And so it just like, if you're really young and you don't have the gray hair and the experience and the, the tough luck, I think the CFA, it's really going to be really beneficial for you starting a business. And, I'm a 5'1" short girl who is like, ha, ha, ha. And so I needed to be taken seriously. So that was like a really good way for me to still be fun and still tell people that I knew my stuff, basically.
Well, I think you're kind of breaking the mold. Why not have fun? Why does it have to be so serious? I mean, you can be serious, I guess, but why not have fun and just do the numbers? And there's 70 million reasons out there that says that you're doing something right, because you have over $70 million under management right now.
Yeah. So
how old are you right now? Not that it doesn't matter, but I'm just curious.
Well, when I started my business, we were managing roughly 28 million. It was during the 2000 crisis. And then we ended up just positioning the portfolios very well during 2020, where, I can't talk about performance, but we had like a 45% rate of return in some clients. And so that just doubled my AUM almost pretty quickly. And, so far at the same time, because I'm still, even though 70 million sounds like a big number in terms of registered investment advisors, that's still small. Yeah. And so you can still be very flexible in terms of what you're investing in, right? I'm not $1 billion fund where for me to unwind a position, it takes me either days or weeks, where I miss a lot. I can make quick financial decisions that way. And I think one of the things that I wanted to also differentiate myself versus other financial planners is that, investments are becoming a commodity until things like the Ukraine war or things like COVID happen, where you clearly can outperform if you're putting yourself in the right investments. And so for me, the investment part has been, always very important to it. And, creating very personalized portfolios for clients has been one part of the puzzle where I differentiate myself. As opposed to many financial advisors, they'll outsource the investment management piece. I never wanted to outsource that because, number one, the client at the end of the day, yes, they're going to come to me and they're going to say, why is my portfolio down? And I want to be able to tell them why, and not just say, oh, let me take a look at this portfolio manager. What is he doing? And in times like we're in right now with like the Ukraine and Russian crisis, like I want to be able to be flexible. I don't want to have the regular index funds that many people are having, because I think personally, I'm making a pretty big bet that this is going to be a while. And I wanted to position people accordingly in terms of defense companies and oil and gold, things like that, that most other financial planners are not doing, at least like the regular ones, I would say.
Yeah, and we'll probably get into that a little bit more into the second segment, which is I know we're coming up on a hard break because I can see it in my co-host eyes. So
yeah, I'm keeping time. I'm a timekeeper.
I figured you were. That's what you do.
That's a ticking clock.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man. That wasn't even with your soundboard.
I am the soundboard, Carter.
It's pretty good stuff. Awesome.
Well, I guess it's time for a break.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a break. I'm excited about getting into the your type of clientele and who you work with, that nature, which we will.
And that's the second segment anyway. We just want to get into what Silvia is doing, and she just already got us revved up on that. So we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll hear more about what Silvia is doing over at Manent Capital. We'll be right back.
Estate planning. What does that even mean? When the inevitable happens for everyone on this planet, your estate plan kicks into action. But first, let's start with what an estate is. An estate is simply everything you own. Now, here's the issue and what needs to be understood when this event occurs. You only have two choices on this plan. Number one, either you plan how your estate gets handed out and distributed to those you leave behind. Or number two, your state decides who gets everything you own. For the first time ever, you can now take complete and total control of this plan that you've been deprived of for most of your life and generations before you. You can get personalized assistance along the way with a team of specialists whose job it is to make sure you have true peace of mind. It's important to understand that estate planning is a journey, and rest assured that our team will be available to you all along the way and at every step. Welcome to eState Plan, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. To learn more, make sure to reach out to your local advisor licensed with us or go to our website for more information.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. Today in the house, we've got Silvia Manent. She is the founder and co-managing partner of Manent Capital Management. I say that all right?
Yeah.
Wait, no.
Perfect. I can't even pronounce my last Manent Capital, but I can't even pronounce my own last name, so don't worry.
I have to rip on Carter all the time because he always finds guests with unique names. They're tongue twisters for me.
Well, yeah, interesting.
I have to untwist my tongue. But anyway, Silvia, it's really great to have you on. You've got the best personality that I've met. You're in the top 10 of all my life right now. So that's really cool. And I think it's really important that you enjoy what you do. This just happened to me. Like I have a lot of stuff going on right now besides running my business and switching my website, which is basically like taking your whole, if you had an office building full of employees and everything and, inventory, and you're going to move it to another place and build a new foundation. That's kind of what's happening. I'm general contracting a lot of stuff right now, a new house build and roads and stuff at my parents' farm. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. And I think it was pointed at my attention today that I was kind of jerky this morning because I was just so like, let's go, pop, 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 pop. And I was just so business, but why not have fun in the process? And I don't want to let that stress get to me. Do some breath work. So anyway, I appreciate your frequency and your energy today. It's
awesome.
Refreshing. All right, so let's talk about you. Let's talk about you were just talking about how you position yourself. Obviously, you've had some tremendous growth. You've done well during crisis time with your clients' money. So what else you got going on over there? What else are you doing? You just continue on with your story.
Yes. So in terms of the services that I'm doing, when I first started, I was working mostly. I brought over some clients that I had at my old firms, and then I knew that I wanted to work just with a younger clientele and help them. But then something that, I started doing a lot of social media and Instagram, just because like you said, right, you have to enjoy the process. And for me, I love doing Instagram and having Instagram lives where I'll interview like CPAs that started turning. By the way, you guys should just come on my Instagram as well. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And so right now I have gotten really, really focused in terms of helping women. Obviously I'll help couples, but I make it a requirement that the woman is the one that's leading the relationship. And the reason why I do that is because less than 25% of women are actually investing in the stock market. Because number one, most of their money is all tied in cash, or maybe they're in their home. Like that's mostly in terms of when women, like they'll grow up. We don't have such a big education around the stock market. And so I want to contribute to more of the equality. And it's not because I'm like a feminist or anything like that, but I think there's a lot of women are not getting divorces when they should be, because they're just afraid of what would happen in the event that they lost half of their money, and like what would happen to, how do they manage the money? How do they even like think about these things? And so I just wanted to contribute to a more equality type of world. So I now focus on women. And if a man comes to me, I'm like, if I like you, we'll do work together. But I do have like a requirement where if they're like a couple or something like that, that the woman is always there. And I'm making a huge priority. I'm like just making sure that she's the one speaking, because when I was working at these other firms, a lot of the times the women were ignored because they just assumed like that she wasn't interested. But you'll find that I think women more than ever are just so interested in having a plan, having a roadmap for their money, knowing what's going on, and actually learning about this stuff. Is that most of the time they'll just tune out in financial planning meetings at regular, just because they're like, we're using so much financial jargon, like even the word stocks or bonds, lots of women that are very successful. I mean, I'm dealing with women that will make over $5 million in their business, $1 to $5 million. These women are so successful at their job that they have no idea like what the difference between a stock and a bond is. Like what does equities mean? I have to say stuff like very layman's terms, just because they did not grow up in this. And I think we automatically as financial advisors assume that if someone is successful and has a high net worth, that they know about finance. And the reality is that that's so far from the truth. And especially now that I'm working mostly with women like that are influencers or coaches or consultants, where it's like single member LLCs or S Corps, and they have explosive revenue because they're dealing with they're selling courses or recurring memberships or things like that are very high profitable, and they only need like one person in a virtual assistant to do their job. There's just like a huge market for that, and there's just a huge need. And so I don't really have to do a lot of crazy marketing. I just show up on Instagram, do lives, and I'm one of the first people. If you search financial advisor on Instagram, like I'm one of the first people that pops up, and that's how a lot of clients will find me. But I'm just trying to make it more accessible for self-employed women to just get better at building wealth. Because like I said, when I was 9, right, the only really way to grow explosive wealth is through owning a business, investing, or real estate. I mean, you're not going to be rich by a W-2 job, even if you're making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I'm not trying to plug this at all, but I don't know if you guys have watched this show called Yellowstone at all.
Not yet, but
okay.
Not yet.
So here's the deal, and we're going to get back to your clientele because
I've been to Yellowstone.
Because
I've been to Old Faithful.
The question I want to ask you, but interestingly enough, it'll segue into this. One of the episodes I was just watching with my wife, and we hadn't watched it either, but President's Day on Paramount, they had a big marathon, so we just recorded them all because anyway, so season 4 is what we're on. We're like 3 episodes left until we've seen the whole thing, and then season 5 you can pre-order. Anyway, that's not a plug for Yellowstone, but there's a part where someone's saying there's only 4 ways to get rich. And that one thing that you were talking about that you didn't say was the other way is to inherit the money.
Yeah.
Right. So because,
or there's another one, marry it.
well, it was funny because I was like, or marry into it. She didn't say that in the show, but I was like, or marry into, you marry into the money too, right? Anyway. But,
or you can steal it.
Well, that's what she said. So here's the 4 things that she said.
Yeah.
You can inherit it, right? You can steal it. You can I don't think she said marry into it. And then she said
Find it, maybe gold digging or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Gold digging is kind of a bit of a way of marrying into it, right? So anyway, but I just think that's interesting. What you're talking about is that you can't get wealthy, right? You can't get wealthy. You can't have true wealth if you're just going to, I say just, be an employee, right? W-2 employee, right? And that's the risk and reward thing that we're talking about. And in the first segment, which was awesome, and in Richard's, this is make sure you listen to this whole entire thing because I'm sure there's going to be lots more of these types of nuggets. But, you know, you knew early on you were destined to be your own boss, right? You were empowered because of the things that you saw from your father. Is that correct?
That's correct. And from his boss had a lot to do with it. I would always tell my dad, I don't want to be like you. I want to be like your boss. And like, he would laugh, but it was true. I mean, the way he had built money, obviously my dad had a percentage of the company, which was like 15%, which ended up still being a good size. But it was like, and like, you know, but it wasn't like his boss who was like billionaire, you know?
Right. Yeah. So I want to go back. Obviously, in the last 2 years, and maybe this helps to accelerate it, you know, you're pushing out your SEO. Good job on that, right? You know, being first in the financial advisory, you know, world and everything when you're being Googled or Binged or whatever. Has it been, or are your clients spread out throughout the country? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes, and throughout the world, actually.
Oh,
so yeah, we have some clients in Australia, Mexico, in Europe, and we have all over the U.S. So Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Massachusetts. Lots of people in Boston, because the people that are in Boston tend to find me through the Certified Financial Planner Board directory, and most of the time they're looking for just like someone around their zip code. But yeah, a lot of my clients are just all over the US, because they don't really, because my clients as well, like they work, you know, they're working from home, or they're like moving around. And so it's nice to be able to have people all over the US, because then I can justify a client trip as a business trip, you know, if you have people all over the world. So I'm trying to expand it as long as it's allowable with Schwab, who's my custodian. So there's some countries I can't work with because of the regulation in the country. Sure. There's a lot of countries that I can. So Dubai is actually one of them. And I think Qatar is another country that I can work with, which is super interesting, right? You would think no, but then I can't work with people in Italy, because there's like the Italian regulation is like something that makes it hard for American financial advisors to deal with. So
would you say that it's made it actually easier for you to grow your business over the last 2 years because you were sort of already embracing this, you know,
world
access world to financial services?
Totally. I mean, when I first started my business, I wanted to be profitable the first year. So I was like, I'm not really going to rent an office. And if I do, it was going to be like a WeWork, something that was inexpensive. And then we ended up having COVID, and it was like work from home was just normal. And at first I remember being like really afraid of thinking, oh shoot, like if I don't have an office, are people gonna not want to work with me because it's not serious? But then I ended up, it was completely the reverse, because all my clients are like working from home as well and having businesses. So I guess it's the type of clientele that I work with, which are like young female business owners. And it was totally normal. And, you know, I'm able to save like $5,000 a year on a Boston office, because I pretty much work from home. And I've thought about, you know, going back to the office, but I've honestly never had clients don't want to meet with me. And like, they're like, this is such a waste of time. We're like, let's just do a Zoom. So it's just been so easy. And in most clients, another thing that surprised me is, people just, as they get to know you on social media and Instagram, they just trust you. And many times, people like literally after a first call, they're like, yeah, I'm ready to work with you. Here's my money, blah, blah, blah. Which for me, that was I never thought that would have ever happen, where people have never met you in real life and given you their money. And as soon as that happened, I realized that it was just whoever tells you that you need to meet in real life, for them, it was just an excuse. Because I literally 95% of my clients I've never met in real life.
So does that make it a little bit more difficult to do like a client appreciation event?
So here's the thing. I've thought about, after COVID, having like a summer retreat where seeing people for like 3 days and have it all together. I think it just makes it more fun, right? Because you have people from all over that can come. And I've thought about doing one in Boston and another one in Spain. So I can have my more international clients come. But yeah, it's been like I've had to get a little bit creative. So yeah, I haven't been able to do an in-person client event yet, but I am thinking about it, because a lot of people, especially in the like consulting industry or coaching or like influencer type, they're doing a lot of retreats. Like I'm actually going to a retreat in 2 months in Cabo, speaking about financial planning. And, women from all over the United States are coming in together. And it's just an excuse to learn about finance, learn about taxes, learn about states and trusts and all these things. And then, have fun at the same time. So those are becoming super popular. And that's definitely something that I want to do, which I don't think it's going to be difficult.
Nice. Awesome. So how difficult is it when you're, because you said you had some clients from Mexico and everything, and I know you speak Spanish, but the language doesn't necessarily exactly translate. So what is there still a little bit of a language barrier from time to time?
In terms of, so I speak to them in like Spanglish, where we'll speak in Spanish, like little chit chat is in Spanish. And then when I'm talking about, payroll and taxes and stocks and bonds, I'll kind of switch to English, because most of them, a lot of people in Mexico, and especially when you're dealing with like higher net clients, they're dual citizens. Most of them were born either in Florida or Texas, and they have some sort of, they have something with the United States, whether in the oil industry or anything like that. So it's not hard. And the thing about women is most of the time they're looking just to make sure that they're okay. They're like, I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I want to make sure I'm not going to run out of money. And I want to make sure that I'm like on track for my goals. And so that's a lot easier to say in Spanish. I think when you're talking to men care much more about standard deviation of returns. What's the performance? What's the next hot stock? And that is much more technical. And I think I need to speak in English with those words, because I don't know some of these words or they don't come out naturally. So.
Well, and I'm not sure if we got a chance to talk about, some of the emotional tie-ins, which I think is what you just got through saying there. Those are the emotional things, right? Like, am I going to run out of money? Right. I mean, that's an emotional, I was just talking with someone today about how, it's a documented fact that statistically speaking, more people are afraid of running out of money than they are about dying. Right. So you want to make sure, and that's why that emotional understanding about finances, it sounds like to me, that's why you like to cater more towards the female component for a couple reasons. You also relate because you're a female as well. Is that fair?
Correct. And also, I don't know if you know this, but there's a book called but it's called Behavioral Investing, the little book on behavioral investing. And in that book, they actually did a study where they had males that had to ask their wives before they invested or sold a stock, and versus women having to ask their husbands to buy or sell a stock. And the men that actually had to ask their wives to sell or buy a stock, I think outperformed by 2%, versus the women that had to ask their husbands, they actually underperformed. And so I think that if a woman is really good versed in terms of like the finances, it's just going to help the male in the household budget. And I know even in my own family, I've seen it so many times where my father would say, let's go and sell this, blah, blah, blah. And then my mother would come in and she goes, are you sure? Like, what don't we just like stay the course and keep going? And I see it over and over and over and over and over again with so many clients. So I just think that if they're just much more in the process, I think it's just going to be a better job for the male. And at the end of the day, right, if mom is not happy, nobody's happy. So
happy wife, happy life. I've learned that one.
Right?
It's taken me a little bit of time, but I finally figured it out.
I'm trying to help your wife here, Carter.
I know. So let's give a shout out to Robert Kiyosaki, because we did talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Richards, listen up. If you have not gotten this book, if you have not read this book, go out and get it. Robert Kiyosaki. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes, maybe. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So one last thing before we go to break. Because you said primarily women, so I get that. And you said younger. I'm just curious, what are the age, range that it is that you work with it?
Yes. So typically it will be mid to late 20s, around 28. I think our youngest client is 25, 26. And oldest is about 37. So I just want to, it's the age range where like we can really, really do a lot. If we get you in early and we make the right investment decisions at that age, that's the people that I work with. Because when I was at Morgan Stanley, I remember a couple of times we had older clients in their 60s. They would come to us with like 200 grand. They're like, I want to retire in the next 3 years. And I'm saying, hey, with 200 grand, right? And like the thing is, it's because nobody had really come up to them and it was just too late. And I was like, I can't let this happen because most women have all their money in cash. I mean, so many women have their money in cash, and it's not until I show them the amount of money that they're losing to inflation that they're like, oh, okay, crap, I need to do something about this. And then they're willing to take the risk of investing because they realize that keeping their money in cash, they're losing 6% a year if you're counting like what's happening. Yeah. So that's I think what made them click. But that's the reason why I work with these women is that it's I want to get you in early, because most of the time financial advisors, you're going to have it's a very sticky business, right? I think it's a 98% retention rate, something like that. And if I can get you in early, like some clients came to me with like $50,000 when I first started working with them. And they're making just so much money and investing it that they're almost $1 million client. And these clients are being overseen or overlooked by higher financial advisors that are like, you don't have the net worth. They don't realize 2-3 years, these women just make such high incomes. They can be a really high quality client. And they're like, keep on investing and they understand it. And they're not like emotional and they don't panic. So they're just very good clients to work with because they don't require me constantly talking to them about the stock market, because they just get it, that it's like a long-term thing. So I think it's just like so overlooked that it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. And then of course you can deliver to them like educational stuff that you can get from some of your other strategic partners that you know.
Exactly. Like my Instagram post that Carter did.
Well, so that's all. Is there anything else that you want to talk about as far as like, we want to make sure we give a shout out to, Manent Capital, right? And then, you are taking on clients. It sounds like you're young, early 30s, ready to grow it out. You're at 70, looking to be at 700 million in the next 10 years.
That's right. Yeah.
Tim, there you have it.
And as long as I'm
not manage a billion. Let's just get to a billion.
Exactly. And I'm always, it has to be enjoyable. Like, like you said earlier, you have to enjoy what you do. And I'm at the point in my life where I'd rather have less income and enjoy the people that I work with and all my clients than, take on a big client just because of the money. And I just like, I'm a millennial. Millennials are like, health is number one and happiness is number one, versus I think our parents' generation, they had it a little bit more tough. So.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, let me go ahead and give you the 4 A's for advisors to embrace. Okay, and this is a freebie. This is my Tim has his core 4. I got my 4 A's, right? So the way you grow your practice, right, is by having as many 4A clients as possible. And here they are. They have to have the right attitude with the right aptitude with the proper amount of assets who can become advocates.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can create that, you're going to be happier, healthier, and wealthier.
I love it. I love that. And don't underestimate a client communication. Like today, because we're buying more defense and oil, I realize most millennials and women, like, they don't like that stuff. And me, I just started sending a few quick emails or phone calls here and there. And they were like, thank you. I'm like, hey, what are your attitudes towards this? And they were like so happy. Like, thank you so much for asking me. I'm so happy. Like, I'll just trust you. But like little things that you think are so stupid can actually make a huge difference in terms of people advocating for you.
Sure. Yep.
Well, somebody might be completely against that. And they were like, no, don't put my money in there. Did you get any of those?
Not yet. But I did get one woman who did, when we first got onboarded, she was like, all I know is that I don't want Coca-Cola or Pepsi. And I was like, okay, why? And she goes, because they're not good for the health. So today, when I was like, because defense and oil is just so many women, like so many people are into environmentally and socially governance. Like, I've actually had a couple of people, actually I lied. I did get 2 people that were like, I'd rather not, if that's okay. And so I'm like, okay, that's totally okay. But, you know, they're like, but other people were just very happy that I asked them. They're like, wow, I can't believe you asked me for that. But I did it on purpose, right? I was like, let me do an excuse, a touch point, so they know I'm looking over their money.
Yeah, of course.
So.
Yeah, you got to communicate. You got communication. That's the key to any happy marriage. I can tell you that much right now. No matter business marriage or actual marriage.
Yep.
Well, I guess that wraps it up. Until the next section, which is coming up very soon. So we're going to flip the script. We're going to go take a quick break. When we get back, Sylvia gets to ask me any questions she wants about health. Here we go. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
What's up, enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. Today in the house, we've got Silvia, the founder and managing partner of Manent Capital, a Boston-based wealth management firm that manages over $70 million and is on their way to $1 billion. No big deal. Easy peasy. All right.
Get your soundboard.
Oh, yeah. Where's my... Hold on. There we go. Yeah. All right. So what is the question of the day for me in regards to health?
Health. So how do you get rid of love handles?
Love handles.
You don't. You never love.
Well, my first question is are they actually getting used during the love process? Because they might be useful. Maybe you don't want to get rid of them. Yeah. They have a name. It's like a tool, right? I don't know.
They're not being, well, maybe they're being used. They're not being used.
Okay, they're not used. It's just it's a silly name for a tool that nobody's using.
I know.
It's a nice way to, I don't know, give people comfort for something. So, well, typically, are you talking about guys or women or both?
Well, is it different for guys and women?
Not so much.
Let's just do women,
There can be some differences.
Okay. Hopefully we have some.
Well, yeah. So, I get it. So, if you look at, like, typically when people start losing weight, they'll lose weight first in their face, their hands and wrists, and their feet, and then it'll kind of work its way up. And the last thing to go is the belly, the butt, and the love handles. That's the way it works, right? So one of the reasons that people are carrying around that, we get this, like, they got the pooch or they got the love handles type thing. I'm just Everything else is pretty good, but I want to get this last little area handled. What's going on? And man, it's just, there's so many things to talk about here, but I'll try to simplify it and give you a few easy takeaways. Okay, so number one, for women especially, you guys have to understand that you are just like a big hormone factory, okay? We are too, but women more so, right? You got your menstrual cycle going on every month and all this stuff. So, and what's happened today, Silvia, is there's so much pollution. There's so much toxins and chemicals in the air that we're breathing, and we take 20,000 breaths a day. That's a big input to our system. The water we're drinking is polluted. That's another huge input to our system. As she almost took a glass of water. So water.
Took a sip.
This one okay? I don't know. She's drinking water there. So the water needs to be purified today. So I'll give you an example. We talk about air and water all the time because these are two massive inputs that people are neglecting and not paying attention to. So let's go back first. The umbilical cord study. So you haven't heard about these yet, probably, but when you're done with this show today, go type in umbilical cord chemical into your browser, and you'll see the studies that go back to 2005 that I saw 9-10 years ago that floored me. And I was like, what? I'm like, every child being born, they look for like 400 toxic chemicals, and they find 250 of what they're looking for, about 71%. Now, that's bad enough, but 180 of those cause cancer in humans, and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. Now, we actually have over 100,000 toxic chemicals that are out there in commercial use. So if you extrapolate that out, that means we have an ability to have about 71,000 toxic chemicals in the bloodstream. But it gets worse. When they're testing the blood serum, the actual amount of chemicals in the fat and muscle tissue is actually 500 to 1,000 times more concentrated than those results that you're going to see on those tests. So what does that mean? That means that we're polluted today. We are completely polluted, just, with all the cars, exhaust, jet fuel, rubber compounds off of tires. I mean, 74% of rainwater has glyphosate in it. This is a main herbicide found in Roundup. We have acid rain. The 2 and 2.5 inch fish, 1,500 miles into the interior in these pristine lakes, have both male and female organs. Why? Because of estrogen mimickers from microplastics are in the water. So it doesn't matter where you go, and people are like, oh, I get the best spring water. Well, it might be a lot better because it went through the Earth's natural filtration system, but you might be getting too many heavy metals, and you might be getting certain things in there that are too much, and you might be causing yourself hardening of the arteries, gallstones, and kidney stones. Out of your amazing spring water, it could taste amazing, it could be great, but there could be too much stuff in there. So that's why it's really important today for me as an intelligent system. When I became intelligent about my body and I put my health as a priority, and I realized that water and air are big inputs. I mean, I'm doing these two all day long. Why don't I just take a step back and do some planning, just like you would in financial planning? Okay, hey, I'm going to take some breaths of air in my house, and I know my house is polluted. And if you have carpet in your house, your carpet's off-gassing formaldehyde. That's the same stuff they embalm people with. You're breathing it in. Older people today are actually going to morticians, and they don't have to really embalm them very much because they're already embalmed. And two reasons, I believe, is from the off-gassing of carpets in the home, and the other thing is eating genetically modified foods, because genetic modification disrupts the plant's metabolism, and it stops it from making glutathione. It starts making formaldehyde. You're actually eating it, right? So it's crazy. So those are two really big inputs. Now, how does that deal with weight loss? Well, because these are all going to, if you have all these disrupting hormone mimickers, plastics and stuff like that in your water, in the air you're breathing, and toxins, that's going to be in your fat and your muscle tissue, especially the fat tissue. And I just said it's 500 to 1,000 times more concentrated than what they're testing for in the blood serum. So now you're like, okay, I want to lose some weight. I'm going to go to the gym, and you're working out like crazy. You change your diet a little bit. You're, trying to eat cleaner, eat more organic. That's good. But you can't get rid of them damn love handles. Like, what the hell? Why won't these things go away? It could be, and we have to check this off the list, that the fat that's on your body is so polluted that it can't release that stuff. You need to have you have to do something. You have to create an environment for it to be able to release those toxins, because if they release too much, it could literally kill you. So it's a defense mechanism that our body, as an innate intelligence, it's holding on to those fat cells, those tissues, so that it doesn't release all those toxins. That's why it's important to start doing certain things that you can do to speed this up. All right. So chemical detoxification on a cellular level is pretty much always around job one over here, right? It's always job one because it's something that we know everybody has the issue. We know most people haven't had the awareness and they haven't been given a toolkit and the education to learn where that stuff's coming from, how to stop putting it in, and then things they can do moving forward to make sure they're getting really good quality air and really good quality water as those inputs come in. And when they change that, their life changes. Now, let's say you got those two things dialed. You're cracking your window at night all day long. You're getting fresh air going through your home, even in a snowstorm. And if you see behind my dresser over there, you see that little thing right there under my finger?
Yeah.
That's like an industrial air purifier for home and office use. And it's freaking a beast. And it's awesome. Most of these things usually have like a 1 pound carbon filter. This one has 15 pounds of carbon with a 1 pound zeolite matrix. So, because the carbons, they do get a lot of the VOCs and stuff, but they don't get the carpet VOC. They don't get the formaldehyde. The zeolite will actually help do that. So it's got like a pre-filter, another pre-filter, 15 pounds of carbon, the zeolite matrix. And then it also has a full HEPA filter, which some people are just doing that. So we have a beast, and you just get one of those things, just turn it on, and it runs 24/7 in your room. Maybe put one in your living room, one in your bedroom, and you're good. And your air will smell like fresh mountain air, and you'll actually get energy and you'll feel charged by breathing this air, just like you do when you go up into the mountains or you go to the beach, right? Clean air. Another thing you can do is this is a Himalayan salt lamp that creates negative ions that cleans the air. And then I also diffuse essential oils into the home all the time, right? So those are some things to get two big inputs into your health. Just those alone, like literally, people, well, what about weight loss? You told me about weight loss. I had a gal, Carol, who started drinking water, wasn't drinking much water, and in 8 months, she dropped 50 pounds. She didn't change anything else. But she got her water right. She purified her water. And you live in the city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so your water also needs to be restructured. So, and for those listening, I feel like it's kind of interesting because these things keep coming up over and over again. And like, oh, here goes him go talk about the water again.
Yep.
But it's one of the problems. It's a core problem. You got cancer, well, you got to get your water right. You don't want to lose weight, you got to get your water right. You got fibromyalgia, you got to get your water right. You got memory loss, you want to get your water right. You got gut constipation, gas and bloating, you got to get your water right. Your skin's dry and cracked, fibromyalgia, you got to get your water right. It doesn't matter. It's foundational. It has to. So we bring it up all the time. So it doesn't matter what people's questions are. Water and air are always going to be major inputs that they need to take care of. It's like that's why the thing that for the listeners that have been around here, I think you're starting to understand this isn't that difficult. You just hear it over and over again. There's basic fundamentals to health that you have to do. Now, beyond that, there's always like little specialty things and herbs and things for people's unique situations. But for the most part, it's foundational, right? So the last thing I'll say on that water piece is that the water has to be restructured because the water you're drinking, most likely, even if it's filtered or whatever, they say that purified, it still went through high pressure pipes. What kind of water do you drink? Where do you get your water?
Boston City.
Is it tap water?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that actually got analyzed, it would be like you reading a new prospective client's mutual fund, and you looked at the fees in the back end and you saw the fees were 102%. You'd be like, "Oh my God, get out of this fund right now. We're pulling the money right now. You're getting raped. Like literally, they're raping you. We got to get you out of this fund. This is ridiculous. These fees are, obviously it's probably says 0 to 4%, but it's like that's shocking. Like if you got your water tested and you saw what was in it, and I know that you love yourself and you have a great attitude and you have all that stuff going on, you're building your business, and then you don't want to go down and all of a sudden in your 30s or 40s or 50s, you have a wheel fall off because you have all this toxic buildup inside of you and you couldn't see it. Nobody told you. But now you have the awareness. You're like, oh shit, I got to get my water right. Right. I mean, 74% of rainwater has glyphosate in it. 70% of water is acid. There's so much stuff. Tap water today is so polluted that in some places, I mean, most people have heard of Flint, Michigan, right? That's not an isolated incident. Like there are some places in the United States where they can take tap water, and 1 gallon of tap water has up to a half of a tablet of combined pharmaceutical drugs in it. Think about that. Just drinking the tap water, you're getting a half a tablet of like Premarin and Viagra and people's pain medications, depression medications, and codeine, and all this stuff that's mixed in there. There's other people's water you can just light it on fire and it burns. It's tap water in the United States. Our infrastructure in the United States is a D. We are plunging into a third world status. What got us out of what made America great was all that women's labor movement at the turn of the century. And what did those women do? They got infrastructure. They got the sanitation worker and the plumber, and they got clean water. They got the dead horses and cows out of the water supply. That infrastructure is what built the health of America and what eliminated 98% of infectious diseases, like the measles as an example. It was infrastructure. The measles vaccine came in 1963. 98% of the measles from 1900 was eradicated around by 1945 because of the infrastructure built by a bunch of pissed off women that were tired of living in filth, and they didn't want their children drinking water that had dead goats floating around in it. Right? So if we have these inputs are very important. The air quality and water quality are very important. I mean, there's you look over in China, they have cancers. They call them cancer cities. They were wearing masks over there long before COVID because the pollution was so bad.
Yeah.
So back to your question about losing weight. You see how hard it would be, difficult it would be to lose weight if your body is completely you have this toxic microscopic body burden that you can't see, right? Yeah. And then on top of that, in your digestive tract, the average person actually has about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material lining the colon. So even if you have a half a pound or 2 pounds of that stuff, you want to clean it up. So we give you the awareness, and then we teach you how to become your own mechanic. And you become your own health planner, and you start planning a few things out, and you get a little system, and you make get your little lifestyle. You put it into your lifestyle. It becomes a lifestyle, right? And then before too long, it's autopilot, and you just got it. And it's like, for me, like being healthy is like it's just a natural way of being now. I couldn't imagine going back to where it was 11 years ago when I was 42 pounds overweight, eczema, bleeding. I was a financial advisor. I don't know if Carter told you, but I had to stop wearing white shirts because I'd crack and bleed on my elbows, and they would stick to my wool pants because my knee would bleed. I had a huge patch there, and I had acid reflux. I was just like burping and, pain in my chest all the time. I was pooping blood. I mean, I was rotting from the inside. And when I learned that this was an inside game and I changed my inputs and cleaned up my gut, my blood, and my fat, and my muscle tissue, I'm almost 50 and I feel like I'm 18. Like I've totally regained my health. It's like, I have to tell people about this. This isn't that complicated. Now, beyond that, for losing weight and those love handles, how's your sleep?
Pretty good, to be honest. Like it's very important. Like I go to bed at like 9 or 10. I'm awake by 7. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, I may take like a melatonin or something, and then I'll go to bed.
How often do you wake up at night?
Pretty often.
Okay.
Pretty
and
like
when you wake up, do you have to pee, or is it because there's pain? Do you have any?
No, because I have to go to the bathroom yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this, if you don't mind, because you can learn and then other people can learn. So if you're waking up to pee in the middle of the night, why do you think that is?
I drink a lot of water before bed. Like I drink a lot of tea.
Exactly. There you go. So as an intelligent system, maybe what you should do is 2 things, and this might solve your problem. Stop drinking liquids an hour before bed, and then right before bed, no matter what, whether you have to go or not, you go pee.
Yeah.
Right? So this was actually a tactic that Native Americans used to use for war. When they knew they had to get up early in the morning, they didn't have alarm clocks out in the desert. So what do? They drank a ton of liquid right before they went to bed because a lot of them have to wake up and pee earlier than normal. It was a war tactic. But we're not going to war. We want to have a stress-free life. We want to have a good deep sleep. We want to get into that REM sleep where your body can rest and rejuvenate and restore itself so you can boost your immune system and not get sick. So we don't want you to wake up. So try that. Try it. You can cut back a half an hour or an hour. And we just have, some people can do it. Most people are about an hour. It'll work. Some people hour and a half. Some people 2. We have some clients that have to stop drinking like 4 hours before bed. It's just weird. I mean, but most people are in that, that hour deal. Okay. And try that. And then that should help you. The other thing is, like, here's another tip. Super dark room. no LED lights, no nothing, pitch black. You want it pitch black. And if you, your whole house is probably, you have all the electrical stuff in the walls, right? Switches and stuff.
Yeah.
There's electric low frequency. So you might want to get one of these. You don't even need a tester, I can tell you. But if you don't believe me, you can get a little tester. And if your head of your bed or your body is within 3 foot of a light socket, you're sleeping in an electro low field. And that can disrupt sleep. And you can take these meters and you get within 3 foot of a light socket. It's like, your head could be in that stuff. Right.
Definitely. Because I think my night table is next to it and there's like a plug. So.
Yeah. So there are things you can plug in that will block those or diffuse them. There's EMF Rocks as a company. They have bags, these deep sleep bags that have these Tesla rocks in them and stuff. And then I have harmonizers from this other company that I got from Dr. Elizabeth Plord's, bestemfproducts.com. Those are a couple things you can do. Some people that have issues with this, once they've done all these other things and they realize it's the EMFs from the 5G, from the electric low frequency, from the Wi-Fi and stuff, they'll actually have a contractor come in and hook up a switch. So the whole grid around at least their bedroom, they flip a switch at night and then there's no power to the bedroom. That is a very smart input for your sleep, because guess what? You're going to go to sleep every night, aren't you? It's all about the environment. You change the environment, you change the air you drink, the water or the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, clean them up, get really nourished stuff, and you change how you're sleeping and all that stuff. You change those environments, your body's going to respond. Your cells are going to respond. And for those of you that are interested in genetic research, like genes, your genes will respond. This is a whole new field called epigenetics. It's not, you are not predetermined to genetic code. It's the environment. Like Bruce Lipton said, he realized he's talking to himself. He said, it's the environment, stupid. If you put a healthy cell in a petri dish with cancer-causing agents, what do you think is going to happen? Well, the cell's going to turn into cancer. But if you put it into a petri dish, into a healthy environment with no cancer-causing agents, the cell will live and it won't have cancer. It's the environment. It's that simple. So everything that you do, think about it. When I'm buying something, does it have chemicals? Does it off gas? Is it going to support my environment? Is it going to support how my genes are going to express themselves or not? It's really that simple. I promise you, if you just start doing these things, not only will most likely those love handles will fall off, but you're going to have more mental clarity. Your mood will improve. There's less depression. You're just going to feel better. You're going to have way more energy, and every aspect of your life is going to get better because it's all connected to what? It's connected to you.
I'm totally going to try it, especially with the plugs that you said, because I keep my phone away in the kitchen from my bedroom, anything out. No, I have an old school alarm clock and everything, but yeah, I didn't think about the plugs. That's a new thing to me.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So do you crack your windows at night when you sleep?
Yeah.
No.
That would be a good idea. I do it anyway. My windows are always cracked, and unless I have a podcast and I shut them like I did now in case I don't want, because we live by a farm, tractors could go by or something. But I always have that air purification system running. So if you have questions about this, you can reach out to me through Carter. I want to get your number anyway so we can connect. Well, I'll be happy to come on and do like a detox class for your Instagram followers.
I would love that. That would be so fun. Let's do it for sure.
And then Carter can come on and talk about like kicking butt. We could both come on together too. So we have 3 shows for you.
Yeah, there you go. We love to. Hey, I want to throw out just real fast an update, Tim, because I finally got that one-person sauna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I shared with you the other day that my wife bought these, because of you, she's got rid of all the Glade plugins and everything. They're not in the house anymore.
Good.
But she got that diffuser with the essential oils, right? So we've got like all over the house now. 2 days ago, because I showed you that box. There's like 25 different essential oils, right? Like orange and grapefruit and lemon and all these different essential oils. But she put lemongrass in the essential oils in the bedroom, and the day before that, actually, I came home. As soon as I walked in the door, she'd put peppermint in them. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh, wow, that just smells so good, right?
Yeah.
But Friday or Saturday, she put lemongrass in the diffuser. I haven't slept that good since I can remember. But I don't know if it's a combination and a compound effect of just like these diffusers that are going through with these essential oils throughout the house, or if it was just that the lemongrass just smelled so good to me. It just gave me this peaceful, just sleep through the night. Like I turned off the TV, 9:15. I didn't wake up until my alarm went off at 5:30.
Nice.
Straight through.
Yeah, typically
awesome.
I didn't know about lemongrass for sleep, brother. That's awesome. But Roman chamomile is great for sleep. Lavender, really good. If somebody's sick, you can put blends in that have like lemon or orange and eucalyptus and clove and cinnamon. Those are really antimicrobial. There's a lot of things you can do. But yeah, that's really good. Oh, and Silvia too, for weight loss. Why don't you tell her about the sauna? Because you don't have to, if you don't change anything, this is clinically proven. Infrared saunas by themselves, even the standard saunas, the best ones, are clinically proven to lose weight without doing anything. Because what do? They help detoxify those toxins we talked about on a cellular level, and they literally melt fat cells. So once the cells can release the fat, then the body can release the fat cells can release the toxins, and the body can release the fat cells. So why don't you tell her about that, Carter?
Yeah. So Tim's been on me for easily 6 months. About a year.
I'm a huge sauna fan. No joke. Huge sauna fan.
What? How do you do your sauna? Where do you go?
My mom has one at home. And I whenever I go home to her, we'll do saunas together and we'll talk. But saunas, I love them. I've been doing them since I was like 5 years old. Every time after skiing, would go in the sauna, and like it's just fun to talk to your mom and friends and everything. So I don't know if her toxins are with me though.
A
little bit, but that's okay. You guys get to hang out. Most of them are going into the towel. Hopefully, you're setting on. It's a wooden sauna, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
We just put together a code for the Health and Wealth podcast because he got so inspired. I hooked Carter up with the deal, so you can get $100 discount code. Use the code Enricher, and just you go to relaxsaunas.com, and you want to get like a little silver one or a black one. It doesn't really matter. It's these little saunas. I found them about a year ago. They're 6 to 9 times more powerful because of the technology than any of the best wooden saunas. I've been a sauna dealer, Silvia, for 9 years. And I sold my $5,400 sauna, and I use this little $1,900 one now. It's
$1,900 only. I'm gonna have to check it out because I want one in my home.
So let me talk about it, Tim. As someone who is being pushed about getting the sauna, right? This is my my morning ritual every single morning. It's a 1-person sauna, zips right up. We ordered it. We got it in like 5 days or whatever it was, right? So I started off 10 minutes, and then I move up to 11, and then 12. I'm up to like 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes. And I was just talking to my wife this morning. I was like, I don't know how you ever get to 30, because 30 is like the max time you can get in this infrared sauna.
You can go longer. The timer is only 30 minutes, but you can just reset it again. We do have some people with brain cancer.
I don't know how you do it. I'm going to tell you something right now. I said to Christina this morning, I said, I don't know how you ever get to 30 minutes total in this sauna. Because like at 20, I'm just like it's just running off of me, right? So anyway, my morning ritual every single morning, Tim, you're gonna love this, I think. I mean, not first thing, right? I've got my regular, but my sauna. So when I get into the sauna, which is cool because it's in my home, right? And you can go in your sauna, nude. So I go in the sauna, 18 minutes, 16 minutes, somewhere right around there is what I built up to. But I started with like 10 and then 11, 12. You build up to it. Anyway, so after I get out of the sauna, as I'm like, profusely sweating, I walk out to my backyard because the sun's coming up, and I just look at the sun, eyes closed, and I cannot tell you, it's cold in the morning, right? Even in Phoenix in the desert, right? It's cold. It raises your temperature, your internal temperature, like 2 or 3 degrees. So I can walk outside with no problem at all. I mean, I've got a nice big yard and everything, but I go out there and I'm grounded. I go out just to stand on the ground, barefoot, right? And I'm just connected to the earth to just get connected back to that earth. And I do that only for like 5 minutes, but I do it every single morning. But this sauna, I got to tell you, it has given me so much extra energy. And I just started doing it literally less than 2 weeks ago. I do it every day. My wife does it every day. And we're swearing by it right now. And anyway,
everybody does. They just have to. I feel bad for people that don't have this technology. It's like you have to have it in the polluted world we have today. You have to. You need things to kind of counterbalance this craziness that's going on, especially once you get. I mean, you can be in denial and just not know about it, or you not have the awareness or live in denial. But that river's not a good one that you want to live in there. So I'm really happy for you. I'm excited that you're doing that and stuff, because I know you'll be like a big, well, obviously you're like, Tim, let's offer these to the enrichers. They have to have it. I'm like, okay, perfect. So we just got that code established through Relax Sauna. So it's for those you enrichers, or you can type enricher, or I don't know if he has both of them, but we're going to make it both. I think we'll just do enricher or enrichers, either one. I know enricher works now, but if you try enrichers and that doesn't work, do enricher, and you get $100 off, and it's relaxsaunas.com, relaxsaunas.com. And
I'm
get
totally
your
gonna get one.
Get your sauna on. Now, it's really cool. And if you want more on this, guys, I actually interviewed the owner. So, Silvia, if you want to listen to it, you can go to just make sure you use Carter's code. But you can go to my podcast is called The Health Hero Show, that one. And it's episode 61. Listen to that. And then I go into detail on a lot of stuff. And there's been a couple other little actually one huge breakthrough since that interview. But for me personally, they're amazing. It's like I can't tell enough. I'm like, I think it's. Then I keep telling Phil, I'm like, hey, what are you gonna do with this company? Like, because I want to take over. Like, when you're done, I'm ready to carry that torch. This is like, it's so good. I could go on and on about, but in our private one-on-one coaching, it is now mandatory. When somebody comes in that want us to coach them, I tell them like, okay, you got to do this. Okay, you can afford that fee, but it's not that's not it yet. You have to also afford the products, and you got to get this sauna. I make them get it because it's not really that expensive. And the people that are paying for private coaching usually have the money anyway. So, and it's so good. It's so good. Sylvia is going to be like the biggest raving sauna fan. 10 minutes into it, I want you to have a camera turned on, get in the sauna, and I want it on your face. And then in 10 minutes, you tell me how you feel first time in the sauna. You're gonna be like, this is amazing. Like, I can't say enough about it.
Yeah.
It's really a great tool. It really is a great tool because it helps to, like, it's very passive. It's a nice place to go into and be able to start your meditation practice if you're not doing it, because you can multitask while you're there. It's great for helping you sleep at night. Like, if you do, one of the sleep tactics is just to rinse off in water and then go to bed. That helps people sleep. But you can take a sauna and then rinse off in cold water and then go to sleep. It reduces, it improves circulation in skin, so it removes wrinkles, burns fat, helps you sleep. It's really good for after workouts too, to recover. It gets rid of lactic acid in the body and stuff like that, and build up. It's good for joints.
Just like
People
after you have junk food, you just feel like
pain and inflammation. It's really good for that. You'll have to listen to that episode, but it's just a great tool. I mean, it's just like I don't even know where I'd be right now if I didn't have a sauna. Like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, and these are cool too because they're little. They're like 33 pounds.
Literally, I took a picture. I sent it to Tim. In fact, I think I showed it last time when we were on the podcast with me inside of it and everything. In fact, you know what? We got 2 more minutes here. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to find this real fast.
I'm like, I'm looking. It's the Relax Portable Far Infrared Sauna, right?
Yep. Check this out.
It's
Can I share
$1,500,
screen?
I think.
Yeah, you can share that. You can share your screen.
Where's it at? Turn screen share on. Did I do it? Oh, here we go. So check it out. This is going to be you.
Yeah.
This was me at the 10-minute mark the first time I took it. I was so happy because I'm like a sauna freak. Like I have to take saunas. I have to. And I've been taking a sauna for 30 minutes a day for 9 years. After 10 minutes in this thing, I was smiling because I'm like, this is different. Like this is like, and Ricardo will tell you, it's like, it's awesome. And the next day I put my $5,400 sauna up for sale, my big glass wooden one. And I'm a dealer for that company. I've been selling them for a long time, but I haven't sold one since. And only time I would sell a big wooden sauna is if somebody said, hey, I really want to have a sauna with my family and it's a bonding time. But for pure health, it's because of the technology. They've literally broken a natural law. Okay, so let's put that into context. Everybody knows the natural law of gravity. So just imagine Carter and myself and Silvia, we just start flying around.
Yeah.
We can fly. We're like superheroes. They've done that to the sauna, the technology. Like they broke a natural law. Like that's why it works so freaking well. And you can increase your core temperature almost threefold of what a normal sauna can do. It's unbelievable what's going on. And the results we're getting from people is just beyond tremendous. So I'm very excited about it. It's a really good adjunct to our program.
What's the code again?
Enricher.
And that's just for the Relax Portable Far Infrared Sauna, because I see it's $1,500 right now.
Yeah, that's the silver unit. They also have a black unit, same guts, except the black unit has a heavier cover. It's black instead of silver. It's got about 3 pounds heavier cover. And he said maybe 2 to 4% more effective, but it's already so much more effective. It really doesn't matter which one you get. So what I tell people is like, look, if you got the extra money and you like the black cloth and that fits your decor better, then just get it. I bought the black one because 2 to 4%, give me. I mean, I want the best that I can get for my body. But the owner himself, he still uses the silver one. He's used the same unit. He's had the same unit for 20 years.
Yeah, that's what I got. I got the silver one too, and I love it. And my wife.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
for sure. And you know what? It's so one last thing, and then I think we got to let our enrichers go because I can see where we're at on this time. It's been so much fun. It's been so joyous having you on the show today, Silvia, by the way. But the one thing that I do that I added to your point is I do my breathing techniques, right? You know, the breathe in really deep, hold it for a few seconds and let it out real slow with your mouth, right? And I do that, 5 to 10 times during that, 16, 18 minutes, a couple different times, just so that I can, be able to get my breathe work in and sort of meditate. And I got to tell you, I'm happier and it's just, I mean, I'm more joyous, right? And it's starting to give me more energy. And Silvia, you're a lot like me. You got a lot of energy already, right? So this is only going to get you even more than you had before.
This is only one of our hacks. Wait till you try our products. You get on our green juice formula, all the stuff that we have. It's just your health is just going to go ching, 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 up the ladder, up the ladder, up the ladder. People don't even realize how good they can feel. And I was in that camp. I was kind of miserable and everything, but I even run into people who are like, oh, I'm pretty healthy. And then we start putting them on our regimen and they start doing stuff. And then we have them benchmark things. And then they're like, wow, I didn't realize that I could feel better than I was already feeling. See, human being, we get very tolerable. We get very used to it. One thing that freaked me out was like, I'd been on this diet. I've been eating clean for like 2 years. And we had some friends come over and we usually do these raw food classes, but it was kind of more of a raw food class / just hang out with friends, right? So it was the first time they got to experience, we made like sprout salads and all this stuff, but I thought, well, maybe they're not totally into this, so I'll stop, and I got some soups at Whole Foods, right? And I poured the soup out and I was feeding everybody, and I took a bite of the soup and I was just like, it tasted like somebody literally poured a salt shaker in my mouth. I'm like, whoa, somebody who made this really messed up. And then I'm like, oh, it's terrible. I got to throw it away. And then Victor's like, what are you talking about? I go, the soup. He goes, the soup's delicious. And I go, and his wife, Neptune, I'm like, do you like the soup? She's like, yeah, it's delicious. And I'm like, well, shit, it came out of the same jug. I'm like, but see, my taste buds had changed. I'd gotten cleaned up. Things had changed. I got all those chemicals and crap out of my body. And all of a sudden salt was too much. It was way too much. You see, but they had gotten tolerable to these certain amounts of salt. And here's the interesting thing that I learned at the Institute. Salt does not flavor enhance food at all. It doesn't do that. What salt does is it opens up the pores on your tongue. That's what it does. So one thing that we teach is to brush your teeth, you also scrape your tongue. You buy a tongue scraper. It's a little metal thing, and you scrape your tongue. And you'll see it, like you start doing this, you'll see a bunch of white and yellow crap and brown stuff coming off of your tongue. And you're just like, oh my God, But as you start detoxing internally, and the sauna is part of it, and taking like our products and stuff like that, or drinking lots of water, you're gonna your taste bud, things start changing, and you start reverting back to your evolutionary process. So we have really de-evolved. We're de-evolving as a species right now because it's just like, okay, we've tried the experiment on how does fast food work, and a bunch of sugar and gluten and glyphosate. Well, okay, look around, we're all sick, and people are just, not all of us, but most of us. It's, what I mean? So it's just like, it's a mess right now, but we can change it. We just need the awareness and the education, and then we need to take action. That's all it really takes.
I was definitely not aware of all these stuff. So
yeah, well, that's the thing, Silvia. Tim and I, we started this podcast to educate, enlighten, and empower people on all things, health and wealth. You did the enlightenment on the wealth side of the equation today. And Tim's role here is to deliver the awareness and the education to empower yourself once you know these things and have solutions, because all he's doing is sharing with you all the things he's already tested or tried or whatever that's been successful for him in his practice, right? Which is what you do every day for your clients. These things work. All you have to do is follow this regimen, right? So you plan. Right. Tim's just helping advisors to, by bringing awareness to these types of things. And that's why we started this entire podcast. So
I might change my name. I'm not going to be a health coach anymore. I think I'm going to be like a health planner, or like a chemical-free life planning consultant. Maybe I need a big designation.
Yeah.
Certified health planner.
There you go.
I love it.
There you go. That's what it's all about. So
health actuary.
Perfect. Well, Silvia, we really do appreciate you being on the show and everything today. And do you have any other last second things that you want to, share or ask of Tim before we let you go? And let our enrichers go. I know that they've, been listening, and we really appreciate the audience. And I'm sure they've listened to this entire thing because you've been a joy.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, there's so much that I have to do. I have to go purify my water, purify my air, take out there's so many takeaways I have to do. So I have to get to work, and I'm excited to have you guys on an IG live, either together or separately, or both or three. So we can talk about protecting your estate plan and your health and all these new things. So
Cool.
That'll be awesome. So, well, hey, enrichers, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. You can be able to go to our website to be able to see any of these other guests that we've had on here that have been just as wonderful as our guest today, Silvia Manent of Manent Capital. You can be able to go to our website at www.thehealthandwealthpodcastshow.com, and also make sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts: Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google, or Spotify. For my amazing, insightful co-host, Chemical-Free Body himself, Mr. Chemical-Free Body himself, Tim James, I am Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group. And we want to go ahead and say, Silvia Manent, thank you so much. CFA, brilliant mind, and CFP, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor. So can't wait to hear live and have you guys on the show. So
absolutely awesome. Until next time, enrichers, we will see you on the Health and Wealth Podcast Show. Thank you, everybody. Hey, Enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.